Let's go. Hey student, in this English lesson, I want to show you the 3 listening practice mistakes you gotta stop making if you want to improve your listening comprehension and finally understand both native and non-native speakers in English. If it's your first time watching this video, well, thank you very much. I am Teacher Prix, and I'm going to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, yes, because every week I am here with different kinds of English lessons to help you become a better and more confident English speaker. If you have already subscribed, I appreciate it. It helps me a lot. It helps the channel. Hit the like button as well. But other than that, let's get to work. Let's talk about listening mistakes that will block your comprehension, that will stop you from getting better, from improving your English. And as a result, you will not feel as confident speaking, having conversations with people anywhere, anytime. So let's change that, okay? Now, guys, here on my channel, I help, and I always repeat this because it is very important. I don't help all students. I help pre-intermediate and intermediate students to go from stuck to speaking in 6 months. That's my goal. And this level is a challenge. And if you don't have a good listening routine, you will probably keep understanding teachers like me. Yeah, you will continue to understand teachers, but not native speakers. So we gotta make some changes. We gotta stop making these mistakes that I'm gonna talk about. And this is basically something that I often talk to my babies about. Here with my students in my academy, we have the recorded modules that we work on all the English skills. We have workshops, we have listening challenges, documentaries, TV shows, movies, listening exercises that will really bring them the variety they need so that they can understand different kinds of people in conversations, a great variety of conversations. So a lot of what I do with my babies, I'm bringing these ideas here for you guys so that you can implement on your own, when you're studying, when you are on your journey to fluency. But that being said, listening mistake number 1, and this will block you, if you keep trying to do this. I have helped many people who are struggling with this mind game that was torturing them, which is to try to understand every single word in your practice. So in your practice, okay, you're practicing your listening comprehension, you're doing a listening exercise, and then you are constantly pressuring yourself to understand every single word someone is saying in a video, in a movie, in a podcast, in a TV show, in a documentary. I don't know what material you're using, but if this is your goal, you will get stuck. You will not improve your listening comprehension because you're going to have a lot of negative emotions, because that's not going to happen, especially if you're practicing. Because what is the goal of a practice? To bring, every time you practice, you need to step up the game, bring an exercise that will be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging. So you will always have an exercise that should be a little difficult for you. So that means if you're trying to understand every single word, you will be frustrated. And frustration will lead to self-doubt. You will stop believing that you can improve. And maybe you don't know me so well, but I am a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming. I am constantly talking to my students, my followers, my subscribers here on YouTube, the importance of understanding emotional intelligence, And the more frustrated you are with your practice, the less you're going to improve, okay? Now, another point, now we go to a more technical point. In spoken language, more specifically with native speakers, I'm not American, I know. I'm a Brazilian English teacher, okay? Of course it is easier to understand me. I'm teaching English. That's all I do here. So in spoken language, native speakers will shorten, abbreviate, contract sounds. They will eat up. They will eat up words and they will connect the sounds, okay? If you try to understand everything, your mind will get stuck. What is the process of your mind? You give an order, understand everything. At the moment you fail, because it will happen, at the moment you miss a word, maybe a preposition, maybe a word that's not even important, your brain will stop. Hey, your brain will emit an alert like, hey, there's something wrong. I didn't understand a word. I didn't understand two words. And at that moment, you're not paying attention anymore. You're questioning your ability to understand because you missed a few words. So this is the problem with this mindset, with this mentality of trying to understand everything. I have helped many people to improve their listening simply by making this change. Okay? And the other mistakes that I'm going to talk about will complement this one, because this is serious, okay? And based on that, my sister, she was one of my first babies, my first BSA, okay? And she had this problem. She was very nervous. I was her teacher, okay? I used my method on her. And then she started having a lot of listening problems. One day I sat down and I was like, what are you doing? Explain to me in details what happens when you start listening. That's when she let that slip, like, oh, I didn't understand the phrase, so I can't continue. I have to stop and go back because I didn't understand everything. She was not focusing on keywords. She was focusing on 100% comprehension. And it's a listening practice. The goal is to get there. Of course, I get it. The goal is to understand as much as possible, near perfection. But perfection is something that doesn't exist. Okay? Don't beat yourself up because of that. So what are you going to focus on? Keywords. And if there is one thing that native speakers do very well, is to show you what is important. With their intonation, with their pronunciation, they will show you what words matter, okay? That's what we call keywords. Keywords are words that bring content, relevant information. So pronouns, verbs, nouns, adjectives, negation words, okay? Words that show negation, not, or don't or didn't or won't, they show negation. These are words that native speakers will emphasize a little, not extremely more than the usual, but they do emphasize, they do highlight, they stress these words a bit more. So I know that ultimately your goal is to understand most words being spoken. And why don't I get to everything? Guys, vocabulary, let's keep this real. I'm not a walking dictionary. You're not a walking dictionary. It happens. So most, if not all, my goal here is to make you excellent. That's what I do with my babies, make them excellent, but realistically excellent. Because maybe you go to a conference in Chicago and the person making the first presentation uses a word you've never heard before. Of course you will not know. So that's what I mean, most, not all, because then we have other issues with listening comprehension that I'm going to talk about, and many students ignore, especially because they don't have a good routine, they don't have someone guiding them. So this is something that you need to understand. Key words, okay? Now, that leads me to listening mistake number 2. You don't have a listening routine. So how do you expect to understand more if you try to listen? Well, actually, you have a listening routine. It's play and try to focus on understanding everything. And when that doesn't happen, you feel frustrated. Of course, you will feel that way. And I understand. This is usually what happens to students who are trying to go that way. So you hit play and go. You don't mix long and short audio practices. You don't combine short and long audio practices, okay? And I'm not a big fan of long. When I say long, I'm talking about 10 minutes. That's long for me. Practice, okay? So long, short audio practices. You don't include variety, news, movies, TV series, tutorials, trivia, history, documentaries, or maybe you include variety, but not a routine. So that's another faulty point. Maybe, okay, but teacher, I watch 3 different kinds of TV shows. I follow these other people on social media. So I have variety. Yeah, but then we stick to the real problem, the routine, the exercise. Because what I help my students do inside my academy is to go from stuck to speaking. And that requires comprehension if you want to have a good conversation with someone. And to get to that level, you will need to establish habits. They have, I don't think this is the one, but I can't find it here. Oh yeah. They have a schedule recommendation. You know, my babies have a schedule recommendation. They have activities they have to do. And it's not simply listen, okay? A few examples of exercises. You have comprehension of information and you have comprehension of keywords. They are different things. Just because you understood 2, 3 words doesn't mean you understood the audio file. So that's a different practice. Comprehension of information, comprehension of words. They are different things. So you need to practice them. This is an example of exercise, or 2 different exercises. Comprehension of pronunciation and word connection. Sometimes I give exercises to my students and I don't care about understanding the phrase, the idea, but just understanding the words. What are they saying? Very short practice. Working on pronunciation, what are they linking? You need to practice that if you want to understand native speakers. So not having a routine will really make it more difficult for you to improve your comprehension. Dictation, this is what I like to call the micro listening practice. What is a micro listening practice? Your ultimate goal is to understand all the phrase, all the words. But it's really short. It's a micro listening practice. I do this with my students a lot, especially when I am teaching pronunciation, connecting sounds. I do this all the time. We have workshops, and I like to bring pronunciation and intonation workshops because they help comprehension. They help your comprehension to get better. So these are some exercises that if you are on the bus, if you are in the car, if you are at the gym, it's hard. You can't do that because you will need pencil, you will need a piece of paper, you will need to be concentrated, to be focused on what you're doing. Otherwise, things are not going to work out. Okay, and there are more exercises. These are some examples of things you should be doing that, unfortunately, your students don't focus on. And that's basically what I do with my babies inside the academy. You know, we have live group activities every month, and I'm challenging their comprehension by mixing the kinds of activities that they need to do. And this is something that if you fail to do, your listening comprehension will be stuck. And this is the transition level. This is the level when either you change that or you will be stuck. Okay, I'm sorry to break it to you. Now, that being said, before I move on to listening mistake number 3, make sure to hit the like button. Yeah, that helps the channel, and share. Many people need to find this. You know, people need to watch this video and understand that it's possible to improve. They can get better. So share with someone you care about, okay? And in case you're interested, I have an amazing study plan cycle that will help you organize your study routine and integrate the English skills more efficiently. I teach all that in my study plan cycle and the best listening practices in my listening mastery workshop. So the links are in the description of this video. Check them out. You will support the channel by doing this, by getting these products. But other than that, let's keep rolling to mistake number 3. Now, guys, no background work. Another important fact that students fail to combine. And comprehension. If your comprehension is not getting better, we also need to take into consideration the vocabulary and grammar work you do. Because I have seen cases of students that understand the words, but don't understand the information. But I understood the words, teacher, but I don't know what they're saying. Yeah, that's different. That's not listening anymore. That's reading comprehension. That's grammar comprehension. That's vocabulary comprehension. So that's why I always insist on the term of integration. Because if you don't integrate the practices, this will keep happening. And the mistake that I identify a lot, that's why I posted these 3 listening mistakes, is no background work. So this means if students are getting to that point, this means they read very little, their vocabulary needs work, even with a transcript. And I have seen this happen. Even with the transcript, some students are reading the file they're listening to, and they can't understand because it's not a listening issue anymore. It's comprehension, reading comprehension, understanding the grammar. That's why in my academy, for example, my students always have grammar lessons in all the modules. Sometimes I bring grammar workshops. Why? Because the grammar will help with the comprehension. If your grammar is poor, maybe you get words, but you can't connect the ideas because it is grammar work. So you need to integrate all the English skills if you want to get better. So basically, what is something that you must start doing is, okay, I finished my listening practice. But one step back, you need to read more, okay? Reading comprehension will also improve listening comprehension. So reading a little bit more and doing reading exercises, okay? It's not just grabbing a book. Okay, I'm gonna grab my book here, Atomic Habits. Strongly recommend this book. Okay, I'm gonna read it. Okay, very nice. Okay, so the comedian Margaret Cho writes a joke or song every day. She does a song a day challenge with a friend, which helps them both stay accountable. Knowing that someone is watching can be a powerful motivator. You're less likely to... Okay, I read it. Good. And you need to have comprehension exercises. Okay? Otherwise, you're not working on comprehension. And to help you improve your listening, you need to work on your reading. There is an integration going on here. And you need to understand that if you want your listening to get better. In addition, I finished, teacher, I did a listening practice, I did a listening exercise. Okay, what do I do next? Oh, okay. Now that you finished, you got to do vocabulary work. What new words have you learned? Vocabulary and comprehension. Now you will get the transcript and analyze the transcript. What is your interpretation? Were you confused? And this happens. You know, I have helped students who were preparing for TOEFL examination. They were not intermediate students anymore. They were preparing for TOEFL, for Cambridge, and I did this exact work. And they made mistakes. But I understood that. No, you didn't. Read. You didn't understand the information. Your comprehension was not okay, was flawed. So I'm telling you, I've been working as a teacher for nearly 20 years. And I have seen this happens in all levels, okay, from beginning to advanced, upper, intermediate, fluent. These are mistakes that repeat themselves, but just at different levels. And if you want to change, if you want your comprehension to get better, to level up, these are things that you will need to start doing. Okay, so as soon as the audio file is over, your comprehension and vocabulary work will need to begin. Okay, now guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, share this video with a friend, get my study plan cycle. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.